First order of business is consideration of authorizing the subpoena to Mila Kaufman, the Executive Director of the D.C. Health Benefit Exchange Authority. Authorization to issue the subpoena requires the consent of a majority of the committee members. Let me give a very brief background on this. I've been concerned, having found out that our health care coverage and that of our staff is being procured through the D.C. HealthLink Small Business Exchange. That exchange is obviously for small businesses under the Obamacare Act. And as chair of the Small Business Committee, this seemed like a conflict to me. Now, that act specifically defines a small employer as a business with an average of not more than 100 employees in the past year. And that is outlined on this chart right here. It also gives states and the District of Columbia the option of further shrinking that number to not more than 50 employees. And that's what Washington, D.C. has done. They have chosen properly under the Act to define small employer as a business that employs an average of not more than 50 employees. Now, nevertheless, the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate are participating in the D.C. Small Business Exchange for health care coverage, although obviously both bodies employ far more than 50 people. As we looked into this, things became even more worrisome because we got redacted versions of the applications to the exchange from the House and the Senate, and they clearly contained misrepresentations. And those misrepresentations include listing the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate as state or local government, attesting that the number of employees of each body was 45. That's pretty interesting since just among members we have over double that number in the Senate. And in the part of the form where the applicant has to list all the employees to be covered, there were 2 employees listed which were fake names. And so that, again, is very disturbing. We have tried to get the unredacted copies of these applications from the D.C. HealthLink Exchange. We're just talking about 9 pages. We simply want the unredacted versions. They have failed to comply. And so that's what this subpoena is about, simply requesting the unredacted versions of those 9 pages. So if we issue the subpoena and get those, no one will be compelled to testify. That's the sole target of the subpoena, those unredacted 9 pages. So with that, I move to vote on consent to authorize the subpoena. Of course, it's been properly noticed. The clerk will call the roll.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, does the motion need a second?
I don't know. It's on the agenda.
I think a motion needs a second.
Okay, I move to vote to consent to authorize the subpoena. Does anyone second? There's no motion need a second. Okay. I'm sorry, under the committee rules, that's not required. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I certainly understand your commitment to address this issue. I know this is something that you have been working on for some time. I think it's important for us in the Senate to provide support for our employees who need health care, and I intend to vote against the issuance of the subpoena.
Okay, any other comments? Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'm also going to vote against this, and it isn't because of the merits of what you're doing here. I think you've got compelling evidence that wrongdoing has been committed here. My objection is I joined this committee because I want to do things for small business, and this has really in the years I've been on this committee, which this is my 7th year on this committee, we've really focused on trying to help small businesses. Sometimes we've been successful, sometimes we haven't, but we've really worked at it hard. This is really going to take our eye off the ball. We've got a standing committee on investigations, and they're the ones really that should be doing this. Having said that, the ones really that should be doing this is the second branch of government. I criticize the second branch all the time for stepping on our toes, but if we've got evidence of wrongdoing here, we provide money to them, we appropriate, as we should, to prosecute cases. Now, I prosecuted for a long time, and I got to tell you, there's some pretty compelling evidence here that there's wrongdoing. But that's not our job. That's the job of the second branch of government. I really want to focus on small business issues. If you issue this subpoena, we all know how this goes. We've seen this movie over and over and over again. They're not going to comply with the subpoena. You're going to wind up having to go to court to try to enforce the subpoena or hold them in contempt or what have you. And again, we all know how that turns out, and that's going to be completely distractive of what this committee should be doing. So I am in full sympathy of what you're doing here as far as I'm concerned, and I know how strongly you feel about Obamacare. I feel the same way. There isn't anybody from here on down that voted for Obamacare. Indeed, I have co-sponsored the bills to repeal it, and this is just another mess that Obamacare made, but this isn't the jurisdiction of this committee. So for that reason, I'm going to vote no on the motion.
If I can just respond briefly. In terms of jurisdiction, I would just quote Rule 25(3) of the committee. Such committee, meaning this committee, shall also study and survey by means of research and investigation all problems of American small business enterprises and report thereon from time to time. I think given that this is a small business exchange that's supposed to be for small business, 50 employees or fewer, and ironically also because the House and the Senate have labeled themselves as a small business, I think it's clearly within our jurisdiction. In terms of protracted legal fights, let me just note that we've been in contact with the DC Health Link, and based on our communications, I'm completely confident that if we issue the subpoena, we will get from them the 9 pages unredacted, which is the goal of the subpoena. Yeah. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I've also supported you on almost every effort that you've made to straighten out the kinds of problems that we have with the law, the way that it's written, and what we're doing. And in this instance, I've got a little bit of a problem in that I'm not sure if you get the information, what happens to all of the employees that are covered by insurance at the present time. I think there needs to be a solution for how to handle that at the same time that there's any kind of an effort. And the names themselves, if you're not going to call them up, don't seem to provide much reason for the subpoena. You've got the information there about the small business already, and of course the way that I understood that to work was that each of us has our own budget, each of us has our own staff, and so each of us I don't know about everybody else, but I'm way under 50, and so my staff qualifies as a small business, and of course the way I handled it, I'm on that exchange, and then I've been paying what the federal government's been contributing to me back to the federal government, so that I wasn't taking advantage of it. But I too want to make sure that I have insurance, and I want to make sure that my employees have insurance, and so I'd like to know a little bit more about where that's going to go before I would support that.
Okay, and just again to respond, just to be clear, the application we're talking about was made on behalf, in our case, of the entire U.S. Senate. So the employer identification number was for the whole Senate, not any individual office, and the attestation was that employees for the entire U.S. Senate numbered 45. And pretty obvious the reason that was done is because the Senate would not qualify over 50 under statutory law.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Senator Enzi, would you yield to an inquiry? As I understand, what you're saying, as I understand it, is we already know what the facts are. We don't need the subpoena. We just don't know who the people are that signed it, and it's not going to add anything to it, to who signed it. Is that
Well,
kind of where?
that's kind of the point that I was making. And yes, we could have all filled out our own forms, and I think they saved us a little bit of trouble doing that. And I don't know whether we would have qualified even then, but
But the facts are the facts as we have them. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Again, I know some people have other events and meetings to go to, so out of respect for everyone's time, I'll stay here as long as folks want to talk about this or any of the bills, but I'm going to suggest we'll vote first on the motion to authorize the subpoena, if the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Mr. Rich?
No.
Mr. Rubio?
Yes by proxy.
Mr. Paul?
No by proxy.
Mr. Scott?
Yes by proxy.
Mrs. Fisher? No. Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mrs. Ernst? Yes. Ms. Ayotte?
No.
Mr. Enzi? No. Mrs. Shaheen?
No.
Ms. Cantwell?
No.
Mr. Cardin?
No.
Ms. Heitkamp?
No.
Mr. Markey?
No by proxy.
Mr. Booker?
No.
Mr. Coons? Ms. Hirono?
No.
Mr. Peters?
No.
Mr. Chairman, the vote is 5 ayes and 14 nays.